Hello there, I'm Moldy and I'm really feeling the LEGO Star Wars polybag blues. In fact, they're not even polybags because each of the polybags that we're now getting from this point forward are arriving in paper bags, which look really cool. It's basically the exact same as these paper bags that we're getting in the LEGO sets now. There is a thin plastic lining, but it's using a lot less plastic. The chances of a LEGO brick poking its way through this bag are thin. That it's possible. It's definitely possible, but it's quite hard to do without some brute force. But like I said, we haven't got a Star Wars poly bag yet. We always usually get one in January, which will end up being some sort of promo later on in the year. And then we get a second one around May for a gift with purchase. And this year we haven't got any. So we've already looked at the 2025 Minecraft one. Today I have the Spider-Man one with a big twist, because rather than equipping it with the armor stand that actually comes in the poly bag, you can see this time I have Sabine Wren's helmet and a jetpack. I completely forgot to show you the jetpack. But this poly bag does come with some minifigures. I'll bring them out in just a second. Looks very familiar, which is interesting because I don't own half of these pieces from the same set. This has been pieced together from various different sets, and that's actually why I don't have the armor piece. But I had a little research and dug around in old Spider-Man specific sets, and this gem case and the armor stand both appeared in another museum related set. So this year's polybag is called the Venom Museum Robbery, and hopefully you can see some sort of image on screen now. But 6 years ago, we got this blister pack, which I think was one of the last blister packs. There was a Spider-Ham in an Iron Man more Marvel-y blister pack. But as you can see on screen, the bottom bricks aren't white. They are a tan nougat color. But besides that, it's the exact same artifacts that are on display in this museum. So is there some sort of canon link between the comic variation of Spider-Man and Venom, who also comes in the set? Of course, it's called Venom's Robbery, and the movies that Marvel have made. But in all seriousness, this polybag is really cool. It comes with a Spider-Man minifigure with arm printing on both arms, a web accessory, which we'll get to in a second, and also a camera with a lens. Because of course, what good's a camera without its lens? We also get Venom here, who doesn't have arm printing yet. Perhaps that is an update we can see in the future, especially with how often we're getting this figure, because they were in a similar polybag last year. But Venom here ties even better into the polybag, because Venom's holding some sort of golden chalice or cup, which we now have for this polybag a third stall which has some broken glass, just cheese slopes and round one by ones, but it creates a really cool effect of broken glass. And I guess Venom's already robbed the museum of what they want. Clearly no one wants the armor or the blue gem, otherwise it still wouldn't have been around from that old set. But as a Star Wars mock builder, you know there's a reason that I'm talking about this polybag. This armor stand here is really cool, and a really nice way to display Mandalorian helmets, jetpacks, and even other themes accessories which you could use in Star Wars mocks. This armor display is all stood on a jumper tile, and that is the key for the base of any sort of display that's going to be built similar to this, because you need right at the bottom that pinhole that you can stick a bar into. Just before we get too deep into this, I know this probably isn't how they build it in the set, but this is my mock up, and it's Lego. We're always looking to improve upon the designer's work. Not to say the designers haven't done a good job on this, they have, but when it comes to stacking up these cones, it's a very fragile build, and you'll probably want something a bit stronger. So into that little pinhole, I'm sticking a 4-length bar. Dependent on how tall you want this to be, you'll either want to go a bit bigger with something like a 6-length or 8-length, or a bit smaller with a 3-length, or you can even get the 2-length with the little bump in the middle. But that 4-length bar goes straight into that jumper tile, and that's why we need a jumper. You can also use 1x2s, there's 1x3s with the rounded corners. They have the same pinhole in the middle. And then on top of that, you just want to start stacking your cones. I would recommend going with cones because the bar is in the middle. There's enough friction that you won't be pushing down onto another cone. And the cone itself is one of the only pieces that can actually go down on another cone. Definitely don't try this with bricks. Before you put your third cone on, so we're 2 cones on now, and 3 cones is actually the same length as a 4-length bar. Maybe not to the millimeter scale, but it's close enough for building with. We're going to want to put our jetpack or our torso accessory. Like I said, there's a few others I'm going to show off towards the end, but we're going all the way Mando. This is the way. So we've got our jetpack and then another cone on top. If you would like to try this at home, give it a go without the bar element and see if you can fit the cone on top, because as far as I had, without pushing the jetpack down too far, the cone just wasn't staying on for me. And then with the cone on top, we've got that stud to place the Mandalorian helmet, and now we have an armor stand for not only Sabine Wren, but this would look really good in a Book of Boba mock. If only I'd seen this sooner. So I've already said this would look quite good on some sort of Star Wars mock, especially if it's some Mandalore mock or some Mandalorian base, where you've got their helmets off, perhaps they're not currently fighting and they're in more of a relaxed state, so it makes sense that armor would be on a stand. But there are also different variations you could use. Some sort of medieval castle with an armory, this would look really good in. And you can even recolor these for certain characters. I have some golden armor, perhaps representing the armor that Thanos the Titan himself would be wearing. And even if you were to mix it up and have a few different colors, these would look really good together. But as I'm sure most of you will have pieced together, you don't have to use cones. You can use 1x1s with the hole in as well to make it seem more of a mannequin, more of a natural display where you've got one of the wires holding up the whole display and then a few extra supports around the key features, similar to how fossils are displayed in a museum. And with the right combination of these, of course, I had to use my spare purple space elements from the VIP bags we got not too long ago. You can make it seem that the armor itself is actually not being held up. This is from the Man of Steel villain. I'm really not good with DC character names, but you can see the little bit of bar at the bottom. It's a lot thinner than the bottom of the cone. In fact, I could take the cone off here, and for all purposes, it's basically the exact same. You can't even really see the bar from the camera angle. As you can see, this looks so sleek. You could swap out the cone in the head for something like a head mold and just balance it on top. It wouldn't be as secure, which is why I've stuck with the cone. The cones come in so many shapes, and even if the cone doesn't look as sleek as you'd like, you could swap it out for a 1x1 round brick. That would also work as well. Certain snot bricks would also work dependent on the helmet you are equipping. But if you want a brick builder helmet, that will work as well. And there's just so much use for these armored displays. So I'm definitely going to be keeping this one in the back of my mind. May I remind you that all of these have come from the one Spider-Man poly bag. And again, not only is that really interesting, but the broken glass technique for any shattered windows that we have been seeing a bit more frequently in Star Wars as of late would be really nice. Just 1x1 clear translucent slopes, and the transparent, translucent, I would say they're probably more on the transparent side. You can see through them a bit clearer than some of the coloured elements, but either way, just 1x1 clear glass-like elements really works well, and they've just spread them out across the build. I really like the look of the new paper poly bags, but they seem to be really hard to pick up. I'm not sure if any of you have tried to just purchase the poly bags, but you may remember last year I bought like 30-40 of them straight away in January, and I think I'd even pre-ordered them a few days early. But there's an abundance of the creator poly bags or the paper poly bags, paper bags, and I think there's a few city ones as well. The Space Mini Mech looks really cool, but I just can't seem to find any of them like this Spider-Man anywhere. So let me know where you buy your poly bags and if they've got this one in stock down in the comments. And if you are a fan of Lego Star Wars and you've made it this far, thank you so much. What do you think the poly bag for May will be? We've had no rumors as far as I'm aware up to this point, but as far as the May poly bag, it usually goes with the UCS set that comes out around the same time. And again, as far as I've seen, I have no idea what to expect. This will definitely be a whole new conversation closer to the time, but having got the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, it would be nice if we get another smaller size build. And by that, I just mean a single man fighter jet. We've got the Y-Wing, the A-Wing, the X-Wing. We've got the TIE Fighter. I think we've got a TIE Interceptor as well. Perhaps a TIE Bomber could look pretty cool, but 2 years on the trot for TIE Fighters, I don't think LEGO will be doing it. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. May the bricks be with you always.